Hi there, and welcome back to another edition of ScaleUp Radio, the podcast inspired by the Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System and designed to make navigating our scale-up journeys that little bit easier by learning from others' experiences. I'm Kevin Brent, and today we're diving into the remarkable journey of Fazane Fox. And Fazane is the founder of Fazane Fox Production Agency. And she started with a real passion for fashion, launching her own label 13 years ago, only to pivot to a full-service production agency, now supporting over 100 brands globally. And we'll explore her transition from struggling with her fashion label to thriving in production and the resilience that she's displayed through personal and professional crises and her strategic insights that have shaped her business. And we'll also learn about her future plans to transition from fashion mogul to DJ in Ibiza. Make sure you don't miss any future episodes of ScaleUp Radio by subscribing wherever you like to listen to your podcast. And you can also nominate a guest for ScaleUp Radio if you know someone with an interesting scale-up story, and you can find out how in the show notes below. So for now, join us for an inspiring look at adaptability, perseverance, and strategic evolution in the fashion industry with Fazane. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm delighted today to be joined by Fazane Fox, who is the founder of Fazane Fox Production Agency. So Fazane, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hi.
Great stuff. So do you want to tell us all about what Fazane Fox does? What are you all about? What do you do?
Okay, so Fazane Fox Production Agency, we're a full-service supplier for fashion brands. So we do everything from branding and brand development through to design, product development, sourcing, all of the technical parts of creating a fashion brand, right through to production. And we work with factories in the UK, Portugal, China, Turkey, and Sri Lanka at the moment. Work closely with those factories to get the garments made and then deliver it back to the client. So a complete end-to-end service. We've been going 13 years now. Well, the business has been going 13 years. I initially started with my own fashion brand 13 years ago, which I did for about 4 or 5 years, I think. But very early on in my business journey, I'd managed to, create my own collection. I designed it all myself, had it all made. I just, and got it back to the UK. I produced it in China initially because that was my background, working in Chinese production.
Okay.
But I just was not very good at the marketing or the sales. I think, 13 years ago, I was a bit shy. I had no idea how to get into retailers. And this was pre-Instagram days. So, you couldn't really do an awful lot online. So I started my business in 2011. So I think it's about 2012. First of all, I won Midlands Independent Designer of the Year.
Okay.
But even though I got all of that pressure, I still wasn't really selling much. So one of my stockists that I did manage to get myself was ASOS Marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
And I won a competition with them for 6 months worth of free mentoring with a company in London called Fashion Angel, which mentor fashion startups. And I won that because ASOS and Fashion Angel thought that my business had the most potential for growth out of all the entrants. So I went along to my mentoring and realised I didn't even have a business plan. I had nothing.
Yeah.
But through the course of that, we identified all the years of experience that I'd had in garment production. So I used to work for a full-service supplier to the high street, so people like Hobbs, Jaeger, Paul Smith, M&S, Bowden. So I had complete knowledge of the whole process from start to finish.
Right.
So we identified that actually there would be lots of other people that were either starting fashion brands or worked in the industry but didn't have any of the contacts, and that I could produce for other people as a way to bring cash into the business so that I could get someone to market my brand and do all of the sales. So I started the production side in 2013. We were initially called, the very long one, Fazane Fox Apparel Production and Development.
Okay.
So I started that off. I started simply with China production because that's all I knew at the time. And it took off straight away. So I then had to look at UK production. Nearly went bankrupt doing that.
Oh, right.
It's a completely different bag to China. And at the time, the quality and the skills weren't there. I mean, it's getting better now. And then eventually expanded into Portugal, production in Portugal. When my son was born 8 years ago, so 2015, I decided that I just didn't have the time to do the fashion label anymore. And the production side was clearly bringing in money. It was a unique business and idea. So I just closed the brand down and carried on with the production side.
Yep.
So then we became Fazane Fox Production Lab. So I had a little bit of a rebrand and started employing people. Also started producing in Turkey as well. To date, we've probably worked, I did calculate this not long ago, something like over 100 brands have come through our offices. And even though, so my background was like high-end women's garments, we just have a go at anything. So anything you can stitch, we'll have a go at. So to date, we've worked on men's, women's, kids, sports, lingerie, socks, baby, all sorts, really. The only thing we don't do is shoes and handbags. We do soft handbags, but it's not like it's not going to happen in the future. I'll get someone to help in that area. So a few years ago, we started doing more unusual projects. So although we did, obviously start off with fashion brands and things like that, we were getting approached by a lot of people with brand new ideas to market, or, things that were eligible for patents or registered designs. Yep. So we've worked on things like the world's first eco-friendly water hammock, which replaces the plastic lilos that you see on holiday. We've done various like garments for medical use, so things like incontinence pants for the children that are more stylish. We've done kids wear for children that have central lines, so the construction of the garment keeps the central line away from the body and stops them getting infections. We've done lots of period products. We developed a special sock that had a patent for somebody, where it was called popper socks, where basically you can pop both the socks together with a little snap so you don't lose them in the water.
That sounds like a genius idea, yeah.
Yes, a genius idea. Most recently, we have developed for a young boy who's 10 years old, a T-shirt for kids with sensory issues, and this has got a patent on it as well. So it's completely, it's really soft. There's no labels, no scratchy. All the seams inside are completely flat, so it doesn't irritate the children and adults wearing it. But it's got, the little plastic poppets, the fidget toys you get.
Yes.
So we've developed a special poppet, and it's stitched into the hem, so that when the kid gets anxious or frustrated or has trouble concentrating, they can fiddle with it in their T-shirt. So, and that's got a pattern. That's the world's first.
Brilliant. So would that be your ideal customer, somebody that's got something new that they want to do that involves garments in some way, or yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So because we were getting more of that, and I felt, fast fashion is like, anyone can do fast fashion, and actually I think there will be an end to that at some point, because everything is getting more sustainable and eco-friendly. And I've identified that to keep going, we have to do these unusual and brand new products, because there's always going to be a need for new things that solve a problem or are necessary. Fast fashion, it's not going to last forever, and there's so many people doing it. So yeah, we definitely are going in that direction. We were still going to do fashion, but yeah, it's our unique selling point really. So we rebranded about a month ago to Fazane Fox Production Agency, and yeah, it's just more about these unique products to market that we're interested in.
And how do people find you if they want your services?
Well, I've been going very long time now. I obviously have a very unusual name, so wherever I go, whenever I'm posted about or anything like that, people remember my name, which is quite good. So prior to the rebrand, we had a new website. A lot of it's just word of mouth. So LinkedIn, I get a lot of referrals through LinkedIn, obviously through Google. We're a member of the UKFT, so we get referrals through them as well. But yeah, it's mostly just referrals, if I'm honest. So yeah.
Very good. And how you mentioned you worked with over 100 brands, going through 100 companies, and in terms of the size of your team, how many people are there?
There is 3 of us at the moment in our actual office, but I have a huge network of suppliers, subcontractors, freelancers, lots of other people that are involved. So actually only 3 officially employed, but everyone else is like freelance or on commission or that kind of thing.
Very good. And I mean, you've already covered a fair bit of it, but what makes you different? Is it that end-to-end solution that you can provide for somebody, that complete full service? Are there other people like you? What's the competition?
Yes, we do have competitors, but I would say there's no one quite like us. So, for example, most of my competitors would probably concentrate on one area. So they'd be a swimwear supplier, or they would be a kidswear supplier, or jersey or knitwear or something. And they would probably only manufacture in one country. Yeah. So because we are a multi-product supplier, we can do almost anything, and we can produce all over the world. That makes us completely unique, as far as I can tell in my research. And it also allows, because each country has different minimum order quantities, it means that we can bring on a startup, do it in the UK, do some very small pieces, and then as they grow, we can take them offshore if they want to, so that they get better margins. And also the fact that we're willing to do all these, interesting projects as well. A lot of the time, all the suppliers would be like, "Oh, I'm not doing that. I've never seen that before. I'm not doing it." But also, with suppliers, especially if you go to a factory direct, they're a factory, they might not necessarily be design trained. So when I look at projects and taking new clients on, I don't just look at it from a manufacturing point of view. It's the whole picture. So it's just about design, but also keeping in mind the price at the moment. So we cut down a lot of the work in the first place. So I think, especially our fashion brands, they like working with us because we're all design trained as well, and we're not just a factory that doesn't necessarily understand.
So most of I'm really not an expert in the fashion world at all. It's not something I know a lot about. Most of what I know about comes from watching Dragon's Den and Tuca, and it all seems to be about quality. First of all, he's got the quality. Then it's like, well, you're paying too much for it. You got to get that price down. And then it's about how we can, I can get it into whatever outlets or places. So what are some of the typical challenges that you are seeing that maybe your clients are facing?
Nobody's got any money at the moment.
Yeah.
It's post Brexit and COVID, it's been very, very tough, especially with the prices have increased so much over the past 2 years. It's almost impossible for some people to be able to afford it. Yeah. But because we focus on quality and well-made garments that are going to last a while, so it's educating the client as to why the garment will cost that much, because they'll come to you and go, "Oh, well, I can get 3 baby vests from next for like a tenner or something, and you have to explain to them, well, you know, they're producing millions of these in Bangladesh probably, and you're asking me for 50 made in the UK, so you're going to be paying maybe 200% more. So it's educating them about why things cost what they do. Also, difficulties is because, I mean, we do have a lot of repeat clients now that are now established, but we initially they're all very shocked at the prices because of what's available out there. And also not understanding the process as well, because it's very, very complex. You know, it's not just producing a simple T-shirt. There's a lot of work that goes into that garment, especially because quality is such a focal point for us. And, you know, we do testing and make sure that it's going to last and all these different things. And there's all these different processes that if you've never worked in the fashion industry before, you just wouldn't know about. So yeah, it's a lot of it's education.
And how do I break into the fashion world if I've got a product that I think is going to be a really good design or a really good seller, but as you say, you know, I'm not, when it's being produced in its millions, fantastic, I might be able to get it for my 10p a garment or something, but right now it's going to cost me £2 a garment. How do and I've got competitors out there that might not be as good, but there's some substitute that's maybe a fraction of the price. You know, how do we overcome that chicken and egg as a new company in your industry?
In my experience, it's in the marketing and how you market the product. So, and that's not really my area, but we do work with partners. So I am less likely to work with a brand now that hasn't got a proper strategy and hasn't done a lot of work around what their brand's going to be, who their competitors are, what their target retail prices are going to be, whether they've worked out, you know, what profit they're going to make. But also, I always say to them, your product budget needs to be less than your marketing budget. Okay. So you've got to put your money into the marketing.
Yeah.
And the brands that listen and put their money into the marketing carry on. Like I said, I've worked with over 100 brands. There's probably 20 of those still going. That's the hit rate of a brand's success is very low.
It's a very tough industry, isn't it?
It's very tough. You've got to you've got to get your marketing strategy right, but you've also got, so when you come, you can't just have your money for your first collection either. You've got to have the money available for your second or third, because you're not going to sell out of your first one. And consumers have to see you around for a while before they start buying. Even in my case, I as the years have gone by, I get trusted more, so then more people come to me. It's the same with the fashion brand. They have, I don't know what the statistic is, but there's, you know, they have to see that brand maybe 5 times before they'll consider buying from them. Have a lot of money. Or, I mean, sometimes people are lucky, but it's not necessarily lucky. It might just be a really good idea and it just gets traction on social media. I mean, more so a few years ago. Now it's, you know, people are getting less, you know, coverage on Instagram. They are stopping that unless you pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very hard. And I think now, because the market is so saturated, you have to have something really unique, different. I don't think it necessarily needs to be like the lowest price, because if you market it properly and you're solving a problem and people will pay for it, it's just how you talk about the product and how it's made.
Yeah. And what would you say are the common factors then over, you mentioned 20 of the 100 that you've worked with, you know, what are the common factors you'd pull out?
A lot of them, why they fail.
No, well, yes, you could look at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they fail because there'll be a startup, but they're still working, so they're not giving it their all.
Yeah.
You have to. I don't think people realise how hard it is to run a business. It's when you first start, you have to work every hour God sends. It's not a 9 to 5. And you also have to be prepared for like the first few years to not make any money at all. Like I don't think I made a profit for 5 years and paid myself peanuts.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people just don't have that drive in them sometimes. So that, you know, they'll do one collection and it didn't sell very well, so they'll give up instead of keep going, think of a different way, or how can we, you know, make this better. So there's that, yeah, not putting enough effort and time into it. 2, marketing campaigns not good enough. So they think they can stick a few pictures on Instagram once a day and they're going to sell out. They won't. Not thinking about their pricing properly as well. So, you know, I had one client that completely sold out of their collection, but their profit margins weren't good enough. So they didn't have any money for their collection.
Oh dear.
They'd used it all on like the marketing and that kind of thing. So not understanding a business as well, which again, I did that in the beginning. It's took me, I'm still learning. But, and then, you know, just sometimes people have ideas that they think's niche, but actually it's not. Because they've not done the research, so there is other people out there doing it and they're doing it better. So I think effort, money and marketing.
Very good. So what got you into, you've kind of talked a little bit about 13 years ago setting up your own fashion label yourself, but what got you into it in the first place? What was your background before then?
Oh gosh, so I've loved fashion since I was like 4 years old. I've always known I wanted to be a fashion designer or work in fashion. So when I was 4, I used to make clothes for my Barbies out of old pillowcases. We couldn't afford fabric, I don't think. And just carried on. I got a sewing machine when I was 7 or 8 and taught myself to sew, made things all the time throughout my teenage years. Did textiles at GCSE level. Then I went to do A-levels and I did textiles, English and media studies, but it just wasn't enough fashion for me. I was like, I'm not going to get anywhere fast doing this. So I left and went and did a 2-year BTEC in fashion clothing at Nottingham Clarendon College, which was completely technical for 2 years. So we literally just designed, made, pattern cut, stitched for those 2 years. And it was really amazing groundbreaking.
Right.
A lot of experience, which actually didn't put me in good stead when I got to university, because I was too experienced when I got to university, because they wanted people just from an art background that they could mould into their own little fashion people. And I'd also got my very first label. I think I started that when I was 16. Before I started college, I used to make outfits for everyone to go clubbing and dancing in, and had my own label selling outfits to everyone for the club. So then I went on to university. I didn't get my first choice purely because I was too experienced and they didn't want me on the course. So I went to Derby Uni and did a degree in fashion studies. Again, I really struggled there because, you know, my first day they had us stitching on pieces of paper trying to follow a straight line. I'm like, I've been stitching since I was like 4. This is crazy. I found it very frustrating, and it was very, very like slow. So we would get 6 weeks to design one dress, and 3 weeks would be sketching in a sketchbook, and it's not like that in real life. So I was always in trouble for not going in because I'd finished my work, but would still have to come in. And then in my 3rd year, I went off to Australia to do like a year out as part of the degree. So I took myself off to Australia, just emailed some designers over there and said, can I come and work with you for a year? And got 2 separate placements, and went over there, worked with them all day in the studio, and then I would go and work at night time in a bar, restaurant. I had lots of fun jobs because in those days you didn't get paid work experience. I believe you do now.
So you had to pay your own way.
Yes, you did have, but it was fun, and it taught me a lot. I mean, to take myself out there at such a young age by myself, was invaluable, and all the different jobs I did around it, was really good for character building and learning about businesses and stuff. So, and being with designers in a smaller environment, I really got to learn how a business is run as well. So then when I went back from my final year, I got into even more trouble because I thought I knew it all. But I did end up I got a very good degree, and I got a job straight out of university. My lecturer that I thought didn't like me because he was the one that was always telling me off for not coming in, recommended me for a job for a company called High Fashion, which is the supplier I mentioned before. My first boss, she came to see my collection, and I'd done like a wearable art collection. So it was completely crazy, as you can imagine, as most graduate collections are. And the job was for a designer for one of their accounts, which was Marks and Spencer's. When I walked into the interview, she said, "Oh, I hated your collection, it's awful." Now, I can't remember what I said to her, but I obviously took it very well. I didn't get upset. I must have said something smart.
Yeah.
Because she told me later she'd said that to see if she could upset me.
Right.
To see how tough I was. So she, the interview went really well, and she said, I'd love to offer you the job. But I went away and thought about it, and I thought, I'm going to be bored out of my mind designing, clothes for Marks and Spencer's. It's not going to be interesting at all. So just as I was about to email her say, "Thank you for the opportunity, but no thanks," she rang me and she said, "I can't stop thinking about you." She said, "I'd like to offer you a better job." She said, "I want you to," she was the account director looking after like M&S, Bowden, Jaeger, all of the accounts. "I want you to be my assistant, and I'll train you up to be an account director." So at like such a young age, I went in as a assistant account director, which was incredible. So yeah, I started there. The company was originally in London. So I worked in London for a year, and then we moved to Market Harbour, which is near Leicester. They had a new office there, and then in the end, I was responsible for my own accounts. I think I looked after about £20 million worth of business before I left.
Right.
So I was there about 6-7 years. I did start my brand while I was still there, but just everything I learned in those 6-7 years, all the suppliers I met, all the people I met, some of the people that I know from there I still work with now that are my suppliers now, and I've even been contacted recently by someone from the factory in China wanting to work with me again in their new company, and it was just really invaluable with learning, how the process is, and so I started my business while I was still there, and then left after about a year, gave my job up. Bearing in mind there was no money coming in the business, so I had to move home with my parents. I gave my house up, my car, and moved in with my parents when I was about 29, I think.
So what was the motivation that was strong enough for you to do that?
I just didn't feel like I could do both. You can't, I was obviously responsible for a lot of money, and I was traveling to China 4 or 5 times a year, and I couldn't concentrate on my business when I was, working. In those days, you had to work long hours and a lot of overtime for no money. So I just felt it was holding me back. So I was like, I don't want to ruin this opportunity. So just going to be brave and go for it.
Brilliant. Good. So you've taken us through some of the key milestones. What are some of the things that you'd say you've got right along the way that have led to where you are?
What have I got right? I've made a lot of mistakes. I think it's just my adaptability. So adaptability and just absolute persistence. Like, I just don't give up. Like, even when things are completely awful, I don't just go, "I've had enough, I'm going." I'll think about it and think about how I can remedy it or change it. or, the adaptability going into different markets, or what can we do that's different to everybody else? So, offering all the different types of products or manufacturing all over the world. Yeah, just making myself stand out, I guess. And I say a lot, I have a lot of blind faith. Even when things, seem like they're, it's really terrible, I'm just like, it's going to work. Or it doesn't matter, it's going to work.
I think we have to, don't we, as entrepreneurs? We have to have the kind of mindset which is we see the outcome that we're after more than the risks that
and it
others
just
might
gets trouble.
Yeah, good. So what are some of the things, you said you made a few mistakes, what are some of the things you've got wrong along the way?
Probably every single mistake I've made. Well, I said earlier, I didn't even do a business plan. So, I didn't do a business plan. I had, even though I had all this experience in fashion, I had no idea about how to run a business. And so I had to teach myself by making mistakes. I had no idea about importing, made lots of lovely mistakes importing.
What sort of things importing?
Like when I first started, I don't think I knew what that was, and then it came in, and they were trying to charge me like $2,000 import VAT, and I was like, "What's import VAT?"
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I had to ring the bank. Help me. But just little everything like that, really, because I just didn't. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I don't think I really did. And I would say one of the biggest regrets is that I didn't have like an advisor in the beginning, or had done a business course, like how to understand like a basic cash flow sheet, for example.
Yeah.
Because I probably would have been retired by now if I'd have, done all that. But you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what's out there. And I'm highly independent, so I think a lot of it was my fault. Going, well, I can just do it by myself. I don't need any help. And as I got older, and we're in year 13 now, I've realised that you can't do it on your own. You've got to have help. And I think it was about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I actually got really seriously ill from stress from the business.
All right.
We had. The business was doing really, really well, but the growth was like a bit too fast.
Okay. Yeah.
And I felt like I was losing control because it was getting too big. But then at the same time, because we were getting really big, we had a huge client that was like a massive client, massive amounts of money. And they ended up being so awful to me and the whole team. We were actually bigger than we are now. I just couldn't cope with the way that they were treating me, and they were withholding payments. So it was, starting to make me panic. And one day I came to work and had a panic attack, and I'd never had a panic attack in my entire life. It was absolutely horrendous. And then from that moment on, for about 3-4 months, I couldn't function. I had uncontrollable body shakes. My whole body would shake all day and all night, and I was in so much pain. It was just horrendous.
How did you get out the other side of that?
I took myself off to Bali for a month to try and recover, but unfortunately, when I got there, I was diagnosed with a stomach ulcer, which they couldn't treat because it was mostly psychosomatic. So the pain that I was feeling was actually the anxiety. So I had to be flown home as an emergency because they couldn't. They were just filling me full of drugs in the hospital for days on end. So it just seemed pointless. So I came back, and obviously by this time the business was about to die because I had not been able to get any new business. The girls that were here had managed to keep things running, but I'd not been able to get any new business, and our gestation period is quite long. So it's a project might be 6 months to 12 months. So, if I'd lost 3-4 months out of the business, was unable to get, to get it back quick enough. Plus, we had to get rid of that awful client. And also, at the same time, because of Brexit and the cost of living, we actually lost more clients because of price rises. So I lost £750,000 in that year from my illness and price rises. So I came back and I was like, I can't do this anymore. You know, it's killing me. I just can't manage all of this by myself. But all the girls in the office were like, no, Fazane, this is your dream. You wanted to do this for such a long time. You just pour it out. It will get better. We will do anything we can to help you. They took a voluntary pay cut that I'd not even thought about so that I could keep going.
Yeah.
We all sat down around the table and came up with ideas of how we could get business in quicker. But it started picking up a little bit, but I still wasn't sure because I was getting better in myself. Like I was on medication by this point and was feeling a lot better. But I just thought, what if this happens to me again? So I thought, right, I can keep going for another few years and I'm going to grow the business and sell it and then just go and lay on a beach somewhere. So a lovely gentleman called Paul came in to see me to talk about what I needed to do with the business to sell it. And I'm still quite fragile at this point. And he said to me, like we talked about it for a bit, and he said, Fazane, I can still see that little spark in your eyes. Are you sure you want to get rid of this business? And I was like, yes. He said, well, I can help you, but I'm obviously very expensive and you have got no money in your business at the moment at all. So how are you going to pay me to help you recover? So I thought, oh, I'll go away and think about it. But a week later, he rang me and he said, I really believe in your business. You've got such an amazing idea. You've got an amazing team. What you're doing is completely different to anyone else. So he said, I'm going to help you get your business back to where it was. And then when you're back in a profit, you can pay me. I'm like, wow. So I've been working with him for a year now. He was behind the rebrand.
Yeah.
Because I did take my name off when I was poorly off the business, and he would just the production off because I just couldn't face it being about me anymore. So we put the name back on the business. We've got a brand new website, a proper marketing strategy, and a lady that does all the marketing for us. So I should have listened to my own advice. So years ago about the marketing. And yeah, going in this new direction of doing, more unique projects. And he's also helped me a lot on the business side. So we've got brand new accountants, which are incredible. I didn't realise how bad my accountant was.
Okay.
That have taught me so much in the past year. And yeah, so we've gone from I actually don't know how we didn't go bankrupt. So our projections for the next year are probably quadruple what it was last year.
Okay.
So
yeah, so it's made a huge
we
difference.
are back fighting, and I feel like myself again, and I've got that hunger again and that drive for the business. But obviously I know that it's very important now not to do it alone, to have advisors around you, to accept help, and also to look after yourself as well, because
yeah,
you're going to make yourself like I was.
Yeah, and what a great, it sounds like what a great team you've got. How did you find the people?
So Kelly, my designer, went to my university, but not at the same time. I did a talk there maybe 10 years ago, and she obviously liked me and what I did, and emailed me and said, can I come and do work experience? So this was in the early days of the brand. So she worked with me probably for 2 years for nothing. And I said to her, if I ever make any money one day, I'll give you a job. And then in about year 4, I did. I rang her up and said, oh, I've made some money. Do you want to come and work for me? She was like, yes. And she was just about to leave the fashion industry completely because she was treated so badly. She was going to retrain us for that. So she's been here ever since. Catherine, my garment tech, we actually went to the same school, but at different times. And that was a referral through somebody I knew. She was really unhappy in her job as well. just doing a lot of jobs are very focused on one area. So when she came here and on her first day, I actually had her fitting coats on dogs, on live dogs. So she just loves the variety. So she's been, here for ages. And over the years, I've had lots of other different girls come and go, and they've all been through referrals or contacts or people I know from the university or, I don't think I've never employed anyone that I didn't like completely blind. There'll have been a connection. So working is important.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Good. So what is it, Paul said you got that spark, what is it you love most about what you do?
Seeing the client's face when you've made their dream reality. Like everything else the creative side I love. I don't really like the finance side or anything, but the plan is to not to do that eventually. It's just seeing, how happy it's made them, and also seeing them succeed as well. So, like for example, the little boy whose idea for the t-shirt, he's my favourite idea.
Yeah,
because it just brings me so much joy, and he's just so happy that I've made his idea that he had in his head actually real. And every time he came and we got the next sample, it was just such a joy to see. And he did say to me at the end, he said, "Fazane, can I just tell you why I chose you to be my manufacturer?" I said, "Go on then, Max." He said, "Number one, you were very kind to me and chatty. But number two, and most important, you have a dog." So, it's helping people, I think. Fashion is quite brutal and it can be really horrible and hard. And actually at my core, I just want to help people and make people happy, I think. I might be slightly in the wrong career, but...
And what would you change if you could? What frustrates you? What would you love to change?
I would change... Would I change my journey or not? Because I think it's important. Even though I made loads of mistakes, I wouldn't have the business I have now. I think, like I said, it's my biggest regret not learning more up front, because I probably would have retired by now. But no, I don't know if I'd change anything, because everything that's happened, even though it's been really horrible, has been a lesson. Everything that goes wrong every time, I then use that to improve the business or do it differently next time. So I don't think I'd change anything really.
All right. And what's the end game? Is it obviously in the near term it's to make enough money to pay Paul for his work that he's doing for you. What's the end game?
I'd like to keep, I still want to keep growing it, getting into all these new markets and bring more countries on board to manufacture from. I think I probably got about 10 years of fashion left in me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So I'd like to probably still sell the business one day, or have a less involved role.
Yeah.
Because the business is very much about me, so actually selling it might potentially be quite difficult. But if I can't sell it, take the money out of it and retire to Ibiza or somewhere. Because I'm also a DJ. So.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on your profile. So you're
so I'd quite like to, just swan around in Ibiza in some fabulous outfit, have one or two gigs on the weekend, and then enjoy the fruits of my labour over the past.
So that's the retirement plan. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Good. So if
you ask me again if you speak to me again when I'm 90, I'll still probably be here.
I was going to say, I would normally ask, if we're meeting 5 years from now, what has happened? So, certainly if it's 10 years, it sounds like I should be interviewing you from Ibiza. That's the
plan.
Yeah, brilliant. Good. All right. So it's been fascinating, Fazane. Thank you. A little insight into a world that I don't know very much about. Are you all right for a couple of quick fire questions?
Yeah.
So if you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Expect help.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Are there any, you mentioned the mentorship and that you got through the award winning. Are there any other kind of resources that you found really useful? Maybe books or podcasts or training courses or something that you might recommend to others?
Not so much books, but there's a lot of like business support in and around my area. So I've had some really good support from a local group called D2N2. So I've had lots of like funding and business advice and free courses that I've found useful. I've also found certain types of networking useful. So now I have a really good group of business owners around me that I can lean on for support and ask their advice, and just, even just going out for dinner with them like once a month or something. It's really useful. The council around here are brilliant. Have given me, they actually gave me money to do the rebrand, so they gave me money for the new website and everything.
Very good.
Which was really good. So yeah, I'm not with books. I try and read all these books that people recommend, and I just can't concentrate. Like, I am a big reader, but it has to be something that I can escape. So I don't want to come home and escape in a business book. I want to read a bit of trash.
Yes.
So I'm not, I don't want to come home and be sensible as well. So and podcasts I'm the same. I like to have a bit, that's my escapism. So it's more, it's people around me. My family are all entrepreneurs as well. So I ask them for advice, and although it's not as easy going to a family member than it is like an external advisor.
Yes, I get that.
We just argue.
Good. Any bits of technology, any apps or anything like that you find really useful?
I have apps for lists, because I have to list everything so that I remember.
So do you have an app, a list of apps on a list app?
I've got lists everywhere and a very good calendar. So I don't forget to do anything. But we use, in the business, we use a PLM system, which is product lifecycle management. Okay, right. Which was created by this amazing female that's now a really good friend of mine, and that manages the whole process for me from start to finish. So we can do everything on there, from design, technical, tracking, costing. I can send purchase orders and everything.
Great.
From that, and all my supplies and everything are on that. So yeah,
very good, excellent. Who's had the most influence on you, would you say, as an entrepreneur, business leader?
I think initially my dad. I think he is the reason why I've become a business woman, because I saw him go from having a job, a very, very good paid job, to being made redundant and I was being, sent food parcels, to then he was a financial director.
Oh, yeah.
To then creating a building company that he had no experience in. He taught himself everything, and now has a big construction company, property development. He has about 7 different businesses now. Wow. But because he had the foundation of how to run a business and being good at finance, so I think you've got that, you can do almost anything. So I think, seeing him do that growing up, it has made me, want to follow in his footsteps. So I think initially, my dad. Most recently, Paul has just been incredible. Like I ring him up almost every day now for advice, or he'll ring me if I've gone a bit quiet for a few days, and just to check in. And he's taught me so much as well. So.
Very good. Nice shout out to Paul. And you mentioned referrals. Normally ask what's people's most successful marketing tactic. Is it referrals? What customer referrals? Yeah.
Referrals, because someone saying, "Oh, Fazana's really good," it carries weight. Whereas if they're just new in the market, they don't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
Or they don't know. I mean, obviously, our marketing's very good now, and we can prove to them on the website and through all the, the campaigns and posts that we do, that we are to be trusted. But you can't beat referrals. And because I've been in it so long now and know all the suppliers and a lot of people in the industry, someone might say to someone, oh, I'm thinking of doing this. Do you know anyone? And they'll say, oh, yes. Fazane. Like recently, we've got some really big brands on board, like established brands, which is amazing because of referrals.
Yeah. A sandwich brand, did you say?
No, a really big brand, a big.
I don't know why I heard sandwich.
Oh, no, we're not going into sandwiches.
No, that would be a slight departure. We might need to talk about. Yeah.
A really big children's wear brand. That was just through a referral of just from people I know in the industry that I've worked with before or have met, and
fantastic.
So even though we are, getting more customers now through the marketing campaign and the new website, it's still referrals. But that all backs it up as well. They'll check out the website, they'll check out we are actively marketing ourselves.
So on that note, if people listening would like to contact you or find out more about Fazane Fox Production Agency, what's the best way for them to do that?
Go straight to our website, which is www.fazanefox.co.uk, and have a look. There's a lot of information there about all the different services that we provide. There's showcase, so you can see lots of projects that we've worked on before. I have a personal blog on there, updating you about all the things I get up to. And there's like reviews and testimonials, and then press and everything. So it'll really give you a good feel for what we're about. And then, just send me a message through the contact form.
Brilliant. Super. Fazane, thank you very much indeed for being my guest on ScaleUp Radio today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.